First, the laws and regulations in effect when I was Secretary of State allowed me to use my email for work. That is undisputed. Secondly, under the Federal Records Act, records are defined as recorded information regardless of its form or characteristics. And in meeting the record-keeping obligations, it was my practice to email government officials on their state or other .gov accounts so that the emails were immediately captured and preserved.
Isn't that lovely? Joining us now is Larry Klayman, founder of Freedom Watch and former federal prosecutor. And Larry, welcome back. How does this, all these new revelations, her explanation, the questions legally surrounding whether she signed that form when she left the State Department, and if she did, it could be perjury. If she didn't, why not? How does everything that we now know in the last time since you and I spoke, really, how does that affect some of your requests to get some of her emails and your lawsuits?
We have two lawsuits. One of them is coming up for oral argument in the District of Columbia on April 2nd of this year. And these lawsuits are very important because they're dealing with crucial issues at this time over Iran. As you might remember, we filed Freedom of Information Act requests, I signed them, asking for documents concerning Hillary Clinton's granting of waivers to companies and interests doing business with Iran. In other words, going around the economic sanctions. Given the Clinton's history of accepting gratuities and bribes, for that matter, with communist China, selling seats in the on trade missions by Ron Brown, overnight stays in the White House. It's a money machine. One of my clients, Johnny Chung, said it was like a turnstile. You had to put the money in to get access to the White House. It's likely she sold these waivers, harming the sanctions against Iran. And now we're negotiating a nuclear arms treaty with them, with Iran. So it's important for the American people to know whether she compromised us in that regard. We got no documents from her in that regard because they're on her private server. So that's the case that's coming up April 2nd. And then there's another one where, based on a few documents that we did get in another Freedom of Information Act request, she released Israeli war plans to try to thwart an Israeli preemptive strike during a time when Israel could have taken out those nuclear sites in Iran. So these are crucial cases, not just because she's hidden emails, not just because she's feeding the American people nonsense over her destroying, quote, personal emails. They were likely dealing with our Freedom of Information Act request, and we're going to be asking the court to force her to turn over her server so we can find documents which she's likely deleted, and we're going to be asking for an evidentiary hearing to have her held in contempt for obstruction of justice, criminal contempt. And we're going to put these judges on the spot. Some of them were actually appointed by her husband, Bill Clinton, but we're going to insist that they do their job and not turn the other cheek. This is a major scandal, and it sits on top of 40 other Clinton scandals that occurred during the 1990s. Very similar, where they also hid emails. When I was at Judicial Watch, 1 million emails from Ken Starr and I, the independent counsel, where they suppressed evidence in a case involving selling seats on trade missions at the Commerce Department. Ron Brown's documents went missing at the time. Hillary Clinton was sitting on top of that. She was directing Brown to sell seats on trade missions for campaign contributions. This is a pattern and practice, a criminal enterprise by the Clintons. I've called them the Bonnie and Clyde of American politics. That's what they are. Perhaps more aptly, Hillary's the Wicked Witch of the left. It's serious, and even Time Magazine is recognizing the seriousness of it on its cover this week.
Yeah, I do. And then, of course, there's a lot of talk about what they perceive as horns coming out of Hillary's head, although they have done that not only to Hillary, but to countless other people, either on purpose or by accident, where it appears as horns. But let me ask you this, with your legal background, of course, how much trouble is Hillary in just by virtue of that document that every State Department person, including Hillary, would have to have signed after meeting with people within the department and giving over all the emails, signing a document saying, I've done that. So if she did sign it and then didn't do it for 2 years, how much trouble is she in there? And what if she didn't sign it? Are there any legal ramifications for her not signing it?
Under 18 U.S.C., U.S. Code 1001, it's illegal, it's a crime punishable by 10 years in prison for each violation to either make a false statement to the government or to omit material information. So technically speaking, she's in a lot of trouble either way, because if she signed a false statement, that she turned all the documents over to the State Department to produce in our Freedom of Information Act request and in other requests by the Associated Press and my former group and others, then that's a false statement. But if she omitted information by not providing it, that's equally a false statement. Now, this is Hillary
All right,
Clinton.
Larry, one question. One
Sure.
question, yes or no? I just lost my train of thought. It was going to be Hillary, the document. For the life of me, I can't remember, but that's life. Larry, great to talk to you, sir. We'll have a great weekend. We'll speak to you soon.
God bless. Thank you.
All right, take care. Folks, it just went right out of my head. Daniel Henninger, Pulitzer Prize winners, next.